Barbie here. Just a quick message before the video. You need to get my new ebook. It's called How to Win at Menopause, and it has all the tactics and strategies you need to win at managing your menopause your way, because the system doesn't exist to help you. It's available on Amazon, and you can use it on any device, and it's invaluable, inexpensive, and will be the ticket, your winning ticket to your ability to manage your menopause your way. Now time for the video. Greetings, my ladies. Welcome back to Menopause Taylor University. I'm Menopause Taylor, the founder and teacher of this university. I absolutely love giving you this education. It's just so empowering to know what's going on in your reproductive tract. It enables you to understand why you feel the way you do at various times during your menstrual cycles. So this is video number 465. Our current unit is on pre-menopause. Now, I know that this education centers around menopause. Heck, my business name contains the word menopause. But in order to understand the symptoms you have at menopause, you have to understand the symptoms you had before menopause. Well, the time frames before menopause include both pre-menopause and peri-menopause. So we're going through everything chronologically on this focus on symptoms. So we'll start with the symptoms you have during your pre-menopausal menstrual cycles. I've already presented an overview of reproductive hormone phases and the symptoms for each in video number 463, and I followed that with the merry-go-round of symptoms due to pre-menopausal hormones in video number 464. Now it's time to focus on some of the specific inconveniences that occur during your menstrual cycles, and this is the first of those videos. And this video will be all about mid-cycle pain. So, it occurs here at mid-cycle. Its very name means mid-cycle pain in German. It's called Mittelschmerz. Mittel means middle cycle, and Schmerz means pain. So Mittelschmerz refers to pelvic pain that occurs at mid-cycle. Well, what happens at mid-cycle? You ovulate. Yep, mid-cycle is when your ovary spews out an egg with the potential for fertilization and pregnancy. Typically, it's one-sided pain, and you feel it on the same side as the ovary that ovulated an egg. But the pain does not result from the actual ovulation. Here's what happens. This is my chopping board model of your anatomy. So this is the cervix, the uterus, the two fallopian tubes, and the two ovaries. So you have two ovaries, one on the right and one on the left. Now here's how they look on a pelvic model. So this is the vagina. Feet are out here, head is up here. Here's the belly, here's the butt. This is your vagina. Here are your reproductive organs. As you can see, your uterus is here, and your ovaries dangle out to the sides of your uterus. And there's all this other stuff in the same area. There's your bladder up here, your intestines down here, and this outside area outside your uterus. Well, your ovaries typically take turns ovulating. Isn't it great that your ovaries are so well behaved? I guess you could say that they play well together by taking turns ovulating. Of course, if you have only one ovary, your one ovary will ovulate every month, simply because it doesn't have a playmate with which to take turns. So the ovary that is going to ovulate matures one single egg. Maturation of an egg entails making that one egg much larger than all the others. So this is my homemade model of the interior of half an ovary, and it shows the actual process of maturation of just one egg. And this is my homemade model of a whole ovary showing the already ovulated single egg. Well, in the process of maturing that single egg, a cyst forms around that chosen egg. A cyst is a fluid swelling. So this, instead of just being an egg here, there is some fluid surrounding this egg. Well, when it's time to ovulate, that one mature egg spews from your ovary out into your fallopian tube. And even though the act of spewing an egg from your ovary sounds like it could be painful, it's not. You do not actually feel the spewing. In other words, you don't actually feel ovulation. But in the process of spewing the egg for ovulation, the fluid that formed the cyst around the egg, some of that fluid spews too. So what happens is, instead of going directly into the fallopian tube with the egg, some of this fluid leaks out onto your pelvis, landing on these surrounding structures. That's what you actually feel. Because when this fluid falls onto delicate tissues covering your pelvic organs, it irritates them. And that's what causes the pain. In essence, the spilled cyst fluid causes an inflammatory reaction on your bladder, your intestines, or in this area outside your uterus. And that's what you feel at mid-cycle, the inflammatory reaction. So mid-cycle pain from some fluid that leaks during the process of ovulation is what you feel. It causes inflammation of the tissues around your ovary. It's a self-limited temporary thing that lasts for just a couple of days. Nevertheless, it can be pretty uncomfortable, and for some women, it can be severe. So here are your options for managing Mittelschmerz. Option 1 is to do nothing. Since it's merely a result of ovulatory fluid irritating tissue surfaces, it will resolve spontaneously, but you'll be uncomfortable for 2 or 3 days. Option 2 is to take an anti-inflammatory medication. Since the pain is due to inflammation, an anti-inflammatory medication will block the inflammatory response that you perceive as pain. Anti-inflammatory options function to mute the reaction of your tissues to the irritating fluid. They do not prevent actual ovulation. Anti-inflammatory medications are over-the-counter medications that you use for most of your minor aches and pains. They include aspirin, naproxen, and ibuprofen. Option 3 is anything that prevents ovulation altogether. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that prevention of your periods is the same as prevention of ovulation. Preventing ovulation and preventing periods are 2 completely different things. You can ovulate without having a period, and you can have a period without ovulating. You can prevent both ovulation and your period, but you just need to know that they are not one and the same. The goal of managing the pain of Mittelschmerz focuses on preventing ovulation. The best way to prevent ovulation is to use a form of birth control that prevents ovulation. And the only kind of birth control that prevents ovulation is hormonal birth control. Now, in every discussion of any form of hormonal birth control, there are three things to consider. Which hormone or hormones are in the birth control, whether the birth control is triphasic or monophasic, and whether the regimen is cyclic or continuous. And I'll explain each of these. The first consideration is which hormones does the birth control contain? Is it progestin only, or is it both estrogen and progestin? If it contains progestin only, then it may prevent your periods, but it will not prevent ovulation. So progestin-only birth control does not prevent Mittelschmerz. This means that none of the following is suitable for purposes of managing Mittelschmerz. The progestin-only mini pill. Progestin IUDs, or intrauterine devices. The Depo-Provera shot. Or progestin implants, which go by the names Norplant, Nexplanon, or Implanon. The only hormonal birth control that prevents ovulation is birth control that contains both estrogen and progestin. These include oral birth control pills or a birth control patch and the birth control vaginal ring. The second consideration is whether the birth control is triphasic or monophasic. Tri means three. Phasic means phases. So, triphasic birth control pills look like this. Notice the three colors of active pills. The pink, yellow, and blue colors indicate different dosages of estrogen and progestin in each color of pills. So the three different dosage combinations produce three different phases. That's why they're called triphasic. Triphasic birth control pills produce hormonal ups and downs similar to the fluctuations of your own hormones. They just happen to be a little more controlled and consistent than your own hormones. The opposite of triphasic is monophasic. Mono means one. Phasic means phase. So monophasic birth control pills have only one phase. You see these birth control pills here? Notice that all the active pills are the same white color. That means they are all identical in terms of the dosage of estrogen and progestin in each pill. So instead of fluctuating hormones, monophasic pills produce a steady, flat, predictable level of both estrogen and progestin. Most women find non-fluctuating hormones much more pleasant in every way. Both triphasic and monophasic birth control pills prevent ovulation, so you can alleviate your Mittelschmerz with either. The third consideration is whether the regimen is cyclic or continuous. A cyclic regimen means that you have periods. A continuous regimen means that you do not have periods. These last few pills here are a different color, and that's because they are fake. They contain no hormones at all. Well, if you take these fake pills, you will have a period. That's called a cyclic regimen because you are creating a cycle even though you did not ovulate. Now, if you skip all these fake pills and just throw them all away and immediately start a new pack of real pills, never skipping a day, you will not have a period. That is called a continuous regimen because you are continuing a steady state and steady level of both estrogen and progestin. Both a cyclic regimen and a continuous regimen will prevent ovulation and the pain of Mittelschmerz. Now, you can take birth control that contains both estrogen and progestin in a form other than pills also. The form of the birth control is called its delivery system. The other delivery systems available include a patch or a vaginal ring. The difference between pills, patches, and vaginal rings is that there are dozens of pill brands, all with different dosages of estrogen and different kinds of progestin. But currently, there are only 3 patches and only 1 vaginal ring. So it's a matter of vast differences in the number of options from which you have to choose for each kind of delivery system. You have dozens of pills, you have only 3 patches, and you have only 1 vaginal ring. Here's one of the birth control patches. You use it by putting a patch on your skin, and your skin absorbs the estrogen and progestin in the patch. You just apply a patch to your skin and leave it there for 1 week, and then you replace it with another patch. So the birth control patch is automatically monophasic. The only variable over which you have control is whether you use it in a cyclic regimen or a continuous regimen. If you wear a patch every week for 3 weeks consecutively, and then skip a week, you'll create a cyclic regimen. If you wear a patch every week and never skip a week, you'll create a continuous regimen. Both regimens prevent Mittelschmerz. The other alternative to birth control pills and patches is a vaginal ring that contains both estrogen and progestin. And there's only one of these. It's called NuvaRing, and it's also available in a generic form. The way you use this is you take the ring and you squeeze it, and then you just slide it into your vagina and release it. It will open up at the top of your vagina all by itself. And then it will release estrogen and progestin through your vaginal skin and into your bloodstream. You won't feel it, and no penis will feel it. And you leave it in for 3 weeks. It's like the patch in that it is automatically monophasic. So the only variable over which you have control is whether you use it in a cyclic regimen or a continuous regimen. If you leave it in your vagina for 3 consecutive weeks and then skip a week, you'll create a cyclic regimen. If you leave it in your vagina for 3 weeks and then put in another one right after you take out the first one, never skipping a week, you'll create a continuous regimen. Both regimens prevent Mittelschmerz. And that does it for all your options for managing Mittelschmerz. So, while Mittelschmerz is completely normal, it's not comfortable. But now you understand it, and now you know your options for managing it. So, I guess that's all I'll say about Mittelschmerz. Okie dokie, this brings us to the end of our topic for today. Here's what you've learned. At MidCycle, you may experience Mittelschmerz, which is pain associated with ovulation. The actual pain is due to fluid leakage at the time of ovulation. Options for alleviating the pain of Mittelschmerz include doing nothing, taking anti-inflammatory medications, or using birth control containing both estrogen and progestin. Don't you just love it when everything comes together and makes sense? That's the great thing about a real education. If you have any symptoms related to your menstrual cycles at all, be sure to schedule a consultation with me at menopausetailor.me. I will make absolutely sure you understand precisely what's going on, and I'll present all of your management options. All the choices will always be yours. You should make sure to subscribe to my channel and my newsletter too, and I'll be sure to see you on social media with all sorts of fun things. And next week, I'll teach you about hormonal headaches. Bye, my dears.